Wow, the birds, the harmony, the the well-being. How are you doing, Cristobal?
I'm very zen, surrounded by nature, dogs, kids, and noise, and you cannot even feel it. So that's fine. All good, all good. It's always
That
good
sounds
to.
great.
It feels good today. Feels good today.
How does it feel to wake up as a number one best-selling author in Spain?
I think we've been building up the excitement. I think towards today. I think what is interesting is people already started reading the book in their swimming pools, in their 1 week vacation, and telling us that that they really enjoy reading. And at the end of the day, I think that's what is most satisfying for us, right? That when people is reading it, they say they're enjoying it, or it's being useful, or is allowing them to navigate a difficult time, or oh, I wish I knew this before, but that's great. Hopefully, also soon people will start sharing their stories with us about, hey, next time you write about it, I want to share my story, right? Because I think our book is methodologies, is cases, but it's mostly about practical things that happen to us founders. And as you well commented a number of times, we talk about it. We've been also going through our own crisis. This can be almost like a therapy of writing about what you're going through turbulent times. And I think it's good to have the time to reflect, it's not just the theory of writing, but the knowing that we are going through our own crisis in life, and our founders and our friends are going through that. Is being open about it and being open-minded about it helps us and helps others, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's kind of like something everybody goes through personally, professionally. But even when we started writing the first book, if you remember, there were so many great books about startups. Most of them, American books, and we had this kind of realization that many of these books talk about the good stuff. Talk about the success stories, but not so much about the struggles and challenges and the real journey. And the more you've been yourself involved in investing in hundreds of companies, evaluating, working with thousands of founders since 2016, myself as well as a coach, spending a lot of time with founders, interviewing many of the literally most successful people in the world. And it's all about struggles and challenges and crises. And I think it's having the opportunity to bring all these learnings into a work that's kind of a combined set of all these kind of tools, learnings, examples. Hopefully, it can touch a lot of people and help them to navigate better through these uncertain times.
Yeah, but you talk about, I think you mentioned, for example, in one of the posts lately, and talking to Joe Foster from Reebok, right? So like, it took him, I don't know, 9 tries to get into the US, 16 years to make it. And he says, well, if you're going through a success story and you have had no crisis, I don't know how the hell you have done it, right? I think there is no straight line to success. I think, and that's the problem with some of the movies, some of the conferences, and some of the keynotes, that it looks like everything is amazing and fantastic, right? And everything is a bit of roses, and you wake up one day, the next day you open your garage, and 2 days later you're in your pajama, pitching to investors, getting millions, having parties, and then you launch in Wall Street, right? And wow, and then you have everything you wanted in life, right? Which and it's so not that. I think first is the few who get to even that moment are very small, and I think that's why the journey has to be fulfilling, and the journey is a difficult one, right? And I think also somehow even we went through COVID, but there is so many people who has not been here in 2008 or in 2000, so they have never really gone through a crisis, right? And we were very lucky in Europe to know how to work for decades, right? So when people went through, I think COVID thought, oh, this is a crisis. It's 3 months. That sucks. And then everything's bounced back and it's even better than before, right? Because that what happened in COVID, right? There was this hyper uncertainty for a very small period of time. Oh, Silicon Valley Bank. Oh, that's a crisis. You spend 24 hours that are terrible. and Monday everything is solved. Okay, good. I like that, right? And the reality is that this process can take years, right? And you need to survive for years. You need to be in the trenches for months and months and months and months. And you need to see the light at the end of the tunnel, but you know that you're still in the tunnel, right? And the tunnel can still be long. And I think talking about it is important, right? And I think we gave, I think, very sound, let's call it advice in our first book. We brought in a lot of founders from Eastern Europe, from the Nordics, afterwards even from Southern Europe and from Spain in the Spanish version. And you already could feel that not everything was a straight line, right? That all the examples were already, were part of the journey, right? And we have brought very few guys who are already in the unicorn state. Maybe some of them are going to make it, but it's all about they're in that journey towards it. And it's very important that we don't hide. And I think the more we are real, the more human we are, talking about the highs and the lows. I think it's important. And I think also the new generations, the Instagram, everything is about the flashy, the amazing, but it takes 6 minutes to post a picture that looks like has been done in 1 second, right? Because they're looking for perfection. And when you're not perfect and when people criticize you, you go into depression almost, right? And I think we need to help each other, saying that no, that's not a depression. Imperfection is amazing. Is the learning curve, right? Nobody learns from success. People learns from failures. Um, and it's the community around you who has to embrace that failures are part of this, and we have to be there on the bad times, not just on the parties, right? Um, and I think this is why I think it was very important for us to write about it and we talk about it. We almost give up also in this journey ourselves, right? Because it was full of bad moments, and we said, no, let's continue, let's pivot, let's do it differently, but we are not giving up. Let's get there, and and one more time, what it was going to be 6 to 9 months was 2 years, right? But you get there, right? And you get there through support, through looking back at yourself and being true to yourself that how long it's going to take, being true to the co-founder saying, okay, I need extra time, but at the end of the day, you're not giving up on doing the work well, right? And I think, and the vision, and you're being true to your values, and I think that's important. But it's been very hard, right? And I think, it's been our own startup. Second time we launched a startup,
Yes.
and second time, I think the first one was difficult because the inexperience of having launched a book, probably, right, and being the first one we wrote. This one, we thought I think we cut a lot of corners on the writing process, but I think we're hit by reality of life, let's say, and what surrounds us. And we were writing about it on top of that. It was a kind of pseudo, you can say it was a mix between masochism and psychological therapy, right? About, so I don't know which one was worse or where do we ended up. Um, and again, even avoiding mistakes, even being second time founders, the journey has been very difficult. But you get to a rewarding point, which is okay. We have an end result here, and we also say let's not be out of energy by the time we launch, because now we want to make it a best-selling book, and that work per se is also needs energy, needs focus, needs strategy, and I think that's the part that I think we were smarter. This is, I think, the part where the experience counted on doing this better.
Yeah, and I just want to say, like you mentioned, we reached the bestseller rank in a couple of countries already, and I just want to say thank you to everybody who's joining us today. It's all been the community. This when we launched the first book 2020, the end of 2020, and it's been the community of people, the readers of the book, the people that join our workshops, our programs, and then we're sharing all these stories of, hey, this is what happened with my team, these are the things we improved, and all this kind of kept us going. This was the drive. So I just want to say thank you for everybody who's here with us today. I'm gonna point out of people who are already commenting. Gary writing congratulations, great having you, Gary. Yeva, who's been part of the perform community for quite some time, and thank you for being with us. Timmy, what can I say about Timmy? She's been such a great support, always there, always positive, joining the different programs. Cremena, ex digital director at Reebok, who was kind enough to actually read the book prior to the launch and give us his testimonial. Thank you so much, Cremena, for the kind words. Nico, who's been a major part of the team and helping us to bring this book to the level it is. Everybody else. Just let us know if you're watching us right now. Let us know in the comments where are you joining us from. Put a little flag so we can see where you join us from. And of course, what we're going to do today is we're going to share a little bit about behind the scenes story, sneak peek of what it took us to write the book, the learnings and lessons, but also we'll try to share some of the key highlights, the learnings that really resonated with us, as Cristobal said, going through this journey and having to navigate our own journeys. What really helped us, what were the quotes, the examples, the stories that resonated with us. So let us know, first of all, where you're joining us from. And if you have any questions specifically about the process or questions regarding the topic, leadership in crisis times, make sure to post them. There's a few more people joining us. Julia, hello. You ever join us from Riga? So yes, let's bring it on. Nicoleta, only the flag, Romania, of course, proudly. Beautiful. Cristobal, let's maybe start from the beginning. You even made a post about it. I had to go and look at my WhatsApp in 2022 and find this audio message. I was in Tel Aviv. I was in Israel. I had a pretty crazy schedule, flying from one country to another, doing different events, workshops, and I was in my hotel. I think when I received a message from you, audio message, of course, short message. Everybody knows Cristobal 1 minute 17 seconds messages, and it was, and you were very inspired. You were very excited, and you wrote. You told me. Um, hey, I had this friend of mine. He read the book and he liked it, but then he said he's now struggling. He's in a hole, and maybe some of the things that we shared in the first book are fundamental. But what about the crisis times? How do we manage and navigate? First of all, the internal journey, but also how do we lead our team? How do we make sure we survive, but we get the best out of a crisis? And you sent me this message, and we started chatting. Then we met in Estonia, but maybe I don't even know what was your drive and inspiration to start working on a project. I mean, 2 years. We know it takes a lot of time to commit to such a project.
Yeah, it, it was so scary when you said with me the other day that it was in 2022. Because in my mind, we only took 1 year to do it, right? And I was like, damn, we took again 2 years. Almost, right? It's basically almost 2 years, right? It's 23, 24 months, right? And again, if we know that this time we saved so much in editing because we already knew how to work with Jessica and how to write, etc. We how to use ChatGPT. We talk about it. How much did we use ChatGPT or not? Because people think that these days you put two ideas in ChatGPT and you get written a book of 200 pages with illustrations with AI, also, right? Um, so no, I think I will say there is 3 or 4 dimensions. I actually enjoy the process the last time we wrote the book. I found it a good reflection time. I know, and people who knows us, we know that in some ways we're very different. Men think, Stoyan goes to sleep at 10, calling grandpa, so, and I don't sleep basically. This is
I
where I'm
receive
lasting
just for those who
longer.
are listening. I receive sometimes messages till 11:30 p.m. audio messages from Cristobal, kind of mocking me. Hey, grandpa, you sleeping? So that's our
Yeah.
communication.
Yeah, yeah. He's sleeping, right? He's much younger than me, but you don't notice that. But no, but I think, and I think on a life that you are fast paced, that you're doing lots of things, etc. And of course, in the startup world, we invest, we our own company grows, our own activities grow. I found actually the process of writing very a good reflection, right? Um, and one of these few times that if you want to say something, you need to research about it, right? And we always remember Jessica when you put a sentence, say like, "Can you prove it?" Right? So when you are in a keynote or you're talking to a live workshop, you can say whatever you want. Probably nobody's going to be holding you accountable for that sentence. Did you prove it, right? But I think when you're writing, you need to prove things. You cannot just say things out of thin air, right? And I found that challenge of writing like that, that reflection that you need to do, quite interesting. So I enjoy that part, despite that it's a hard process, right? Like everything that you want to do well, it comes with hard work, right? Um, and I found the co-creation also process with you and with Jessica. Jessica is our editor who also joined us in the second book. Even if she's not editing much, but I think she also enjoyed or dislike us so much that he wanted to make it better. I don't know, but she also welcomed us to come here. So I think I wanted to go through the process again. Um, Funny part is I'm writing two more books, and I said no, we need to write this one first. I think the second part was probably a bit of, let's call it, pride or ambition, which is, hey, everybody who read the first book liked it a lot, but at the end of the day, we didn't really sell 10,000 copies, or we didn't really make it in a much larger way, right? We didn't make it bestseller, etc. And we said, hey, can we do it? Can we actually not only write a good book, but make it high on the charts? So I think we have a challenge, right? That was there. And third thing, it was really the inspiration about the topic, which is, when we more or less got there, the war has started in Ukraine. As I said, the COVID, we have passed through COVID, but I don't think it was really felt apart from a very small period of time, and then the growth came back. But I think I felt that we were starting to grow through something that was going to be quite long and quite painful. That many of our founders in Startup Wise guys in the early stage industry in Europe were going through something that they did not know about it. And I didn't want this to be hidden in a cabinet. I wanted to be the crisis that, communication, your mental state again in these moments as a founder, having to let people go was not something you wanted to hide about and re-emerge from the shadows 2 years later when everything is shiny again. I wanted to be this something that founders were open to talk about, and that we could share about, and that we could learn from others. So I think that was a big inspiration to do it. And as I said in the post you mentioned, we got people saying, "Hey, I love this one, but I don't know if I can apply it when things are hard." Which is usually where people is again looking for advice, right? When things are going well, you don't read a book about how do I go from great to greatest. That's only when you afterwards, right? But when you're really actually in a hole, that's when you say, "Can I read something about it? Can I inspire?" And I remember this. Can say a personal when my first daughter died. That was the only time I was looking for books about grief, because I wanted to say I don't want to do this. This is a very important journey. This is going to mark me for the rest of my life, and I have seen many people hiding almost from grieving, right? So that's the only time I read about grief. And I read 3 or 4 books that impacted me, and then a lot of people asked me, "Hey, I know you went through this. Can you give me some advice?" Which I have had the chance to do it. But again, you only read in hard times, and I think, hey, let's write something that people will actually read in hard times, that hopefully can inspire them and can be a bit helpful in that journey. But it's not going to just be, "Oh, follow this and we get you out of the crisis following." That's not the intention here, but actually be inspiring for others. I think that was part of the motivation. And then it's like a startup. You're not a book. You can make a book once, but you're not really a founder. So you need to do it 2 or 3 times, and then you're really a founder, right? So now we really book authors because we are 2 times lucky, right? So first time you might be lucky that you wrote a book, but you write it twice, I guess you're really a book author. So I think now we can. So there's people who go there and says book authors when they're writing the first book. Now we wrote the first book, we launched the second, the translation book. Now we really book authors because we wrote 2, right? And I think that actually, and we're so Stoyan is so inspired that he's calling himself Stoyan Alonso in some of the people was asking me, "Hey, Stoyan got so inspired by you guys are so close that you're now changing last names." And I said, "Well, I don't know. You have to ask Stoyan what's going on in there, So But you can tell the story.
Here you can give me some credits for taking care of all the logistics, all the design. Uh, by the way, this is part of the reason I've been so motivated and excited to jump on a project together again, because I feel like we complement each other quite well. Cristobal is, I mean, I think I'm fire, but like I can't even compete with the level of let's do it yesterday that Cristobal is bringing to the table. And so my background is movie production and video production. I had a design slash video production agency in Denmark. So I love to simplify things to create frameworks. I mean, everybody who has read the previous book or this book, you can see this very structured. It's visual. We have graphs. We have key takeaways. Frameworks. Cristobal learned to create frameworks after we started working together. Actually, to enjoy them. Some of them are his framework. So I'm very proud of him. But this kind of a we know our roles, roles and responsibilities from the first book. So uh, part of my role is to ensure the book looks great, it's well structured, the fonts, the formatting, the visuals, working with a team, of course, of great people. So the other day when I was publishing the book, of course, it's my part, the Amazon, the Kindle, direct publishing, and we agreed the first book, you know, I'm going to put my name first, and Cristobal's name is going to be the second. Okay, we have two books. Cristobal's name is going to be first, mine is going to be the second. So the other day when I was changing the names, I guess I forgot the surname. So for the first people who bought the book, I will forever be Cristobal Alonso. No, sorry, Stoyan Alonso. Stoyan
Yeah,
Alonso.
no,
So
sounds.
yeah, my name is not Stoyan Alonso. We're not brothers yet. So just so you know. But yeah,
But I can
it's been a
put
pleasure,
if you
man.
want in the third book, I will put Cristobal Yankov for a couple of
Thank
days,
you,
so
man.
people
Thank you, man.
people feels that there is appreciation on both sides on this one, right?
No, but what you said really resonated with me, and I remember several months ago. Maybe actually it's more now. Time is like crazy. Maybe it's a year or more. Oh, it's more. Maybe it's 2 years. Um, we had a chance to meet and befriend the founder of Freebook that you mentioned, right?
Yeah.
Joe Foster, and you actually spent time with him in Dubai. Had some coffee and stuff, and I sent you a signed copy of his book, and I remember you called me once, and you were like, "Man, I just read this story of him losing his daughter." And I was in the plane, and I'm just reading a book, and I'm crying, and then and people in the plane are like, what is going on? This guy's reading a book and just. But I think that's the real thing, right? And that's really actually that was one of the stories that made me think we should write this book, because in the book we feature many examples and cases and stories from our experience, but also from the experience of I think we ended up featuring more than 60 business leaders, entrepreneurs, founders. But I think I interviewed personally more than 250. So this is just the curation, right? So I feel like when I read a story of somebody, it kind of is like, you know what, I can relate. Oh, I'm not the
Hmm.
only one that's crazy, or that is feeling, I don't know how to figure it out, or is feeling these feelings. So this is what really kept me going. And we had some really difficult times. We had some times that we were like, should we even do it? Remember, I even had this idea to include this as a updated version for the first book. Let's just include a chapter on crisis management and just let's call it off the day. Because once again, the first book is about culture and performance. I've been teaching that for years. I've been building teams, I've been running teams, you've been running teams, managing teams. We're interested about this topic. We've been, I don't know how many books you read on culture and leadership, and we share these books with each other, and then we implement the learnings, and we just created a methodology. But we already knew the stuff, we've been living it. This one, part of the motivation was I want to learn about crisis management. Because look, I'm from Eastern Europe. I grew up in the 90s. Survival, crisis, figuring things out. This is part of our nature in a way. My career has been giving me the opportunity to experience a lot of different difficult experiences, emergencies. For those of you who don't know, I used to be a movie producer, which is pretty much as a producer, you're a crisis management leader. That's your job 99% of the time, right? So even though I had this experience, I don't think I had the theoretical sort of background. What are the frameworks? What is the structure? How do you teach this? As opposed to the first book where we pretty much got all our learnings and put them together. Here, for me, part of the motivation was I want to learn. I want to see what the best leaders do in crisis times. Is there some formula? Is there some guidelines, or is everybody trying to figure it out themselves? Can we collect the best learnings and create a system, a structure, and potentially at the end of the journey, I can be better in managing crisis and leading my team in crisis times.
Yeah, no, I think you know. I think on the we have simplified probably because you cannot touch every crisis. Two kind of main events happening in the last 2 years. Well, I think as I mentioned, COVID was a hint, but it went away very quickly, and then we experienced war. And I think our Ukrainian colleagues experienced it in a level that we cannot be compared with anybody else. But we experienced the macro impact of that or being close to Ukrainian people, and we felt it for them, right? We have 50 plus Ukrainian companies in the Startup Wise Guys portfolio. So, and I have 5, 6 employees in my team from Ukraine. So I was close to it, but I can never even resonate from these people waking up every day. I'm wondering about their parents, their families, and some of them lost loved ones in the front. So we cannot compare it, but we felt it, right? But at the end of the day, and then the cash crisis, right? So a lot of our startups, for I think almost for 6, 7 years, if you were doing well, you will raise money. And sadly, there was a point where even if you do well, you don't raise money, and you start thinking, I'm going to run out of cash. And that start happening on a much faster way or in a much bigger way. That's probably the two crises we touch the most. But if we're in the EU where the divorce rate is 50%, and I read in a couple of countries is 90%. So, and there cannot be more major personal crisis that the level of separation at that level, right? So at least 50% of people is going to go to that, and sometimes 9 out of 10 people. So you need to learn about it, right? Because it's going to be impacting you, or impacting your brother, your sister, or your best friend. So statistically, somebody hyper close to you, if not you, is going to go through that. You're going to have to be there, part of it, or a support mechanism to it, right? So I think, and again, I think Europeans, while Americans have always been very good about talking about failure, Europeans have been very bad about talking about failure, right? And suddenly failure is way more around us. And I think learning about it is a fundamental skill, and strengthening about it is a fundamental skill, right? So the mental toughness. We wrote about mental toughness in the first book, and now we said, well, now let's see how tough you are, right? And some people said, hey, you don't need to always be tough. And for sure, we talk about vulnerability in the book. We talk about, showing your true self, showing leaders being vulnerable, leaders be sometimes not knowing what is coming, right? And being able to express that to the teams while still provide direction. So, but you still you as a leader, you need to be tough because you need to survive. No matter if you show vulnerability, you will have your moments of doubt, but it's all about your health, mental and physical, to go through this. And if you cannot go through this, then you're going to die physically, or your company is going to do it, right? Or both. Or it's going to have a personal crisis on your marriage or on your relationships because you're having another type of crisis and you don't know how to switch off from this. And suddenly you have a company crisis, your relationship is at risk, your kids don't want to talk to you because you're pissed off the whole time, because you're super worried and stressed, and you're passing that to everybody around you, right? And that's the kind of things we wanted to learn, but also say, guys, you are going to go through this. Let us give us some tips so it will make it painful, but going through it, right? Because the pain, you cannot live without pain. Pain is part of the process. Like whoever thinks you cannot be a gold medalist without pain, right? Like pain is part of the process. And I think is you need to live to smile with pain. Let's put it this way. I always remember in Dangerous Liaisons, it's a movie probably from the 80s. So half of you said, what the hell is that movie? Well, one of the best movies of the 80s. There is one scene that the main actress, I think it's Glenn Close, is telling the guy, you need to learn how to smile when somebody is putting the fork through your leg, right? In a dinner table, right? And do it with grace on top of that. So to me, it's the same thing. Life is stabbing a fork on you, and your mind said, bring it on. I'm ready. I'm going to go through this, and I'm going to smile part of the time. What this, and it's hurting like hell, but I'm going to go through this, and I'm going to do it, right? And I think that's part of the journey that we have been writing about. But I like the idea you said, and it goes back to the first point about reflection with learning, right? So for us, writing is a process of it's a process to learn something new, um, from your interviews, from the research, from yourself while writing. You learn even about something you haven't thought about it or you haven't thought how to express it properly. And I think that learning is what motivates you to go to the painful process of writing, because it is painful, and it's painful to get to good result. And you said it, you had this person. Oh, let's make it. And I said, no fucking way. We're going to finish this book. Like, there's no way we give up. But it was a good moment to challenge ourselves about the not using the perform framework, right? And I think we can talk about, we started saying, hey, we're going to use every letter again and write what we learn in crisis through every letter, right? And I think we get to a point that was limiting probably our creativity or the message that we wanted to go through. And we have each of us written out one chapter each as a draft to go forward. And that was the moment we said maybe we should just make an addendum and that's it. Um, so classic me said, no fucking way, we're going to finish. But it was a good moment for you and me to say, okay, then how do we do it differently? Because this framework is not working, right? And then we decided to say, hey, let's focus on 5 core areas. Let's relate to the previous book. Some of them will be almost like a letter, like brand, the mental toughness, or the planning, and communication, those 4. But we didn't have to be framed. And I think once we created that freedom that we could just write whatever was important, I think we started flowing and getting re-excited again. So I think the framework was limiting us and was almost getting us down, because we couldn't make it perfectly fit. And once we go through that crisis and we decided to not to quit but to pivot, we get to a better result. And I think again that's our own crisis process there. And I think having a co-founder that would say, no, first, no, we don't quit, but secondly, together, say, okay, then how do we get out of here? How do we do it differently? It was an important part, right? And an important role on how we did it, right?
And maybe just for those of you listening, just to remind you, the perform methodology is based around a framework we created to make it simple for leaders, for founders to build a great team, a great culture, sustainable culture. And it's the letters are as follows: P, perform, right? P stands for purpose and values. Then you have effective planning, roles and responsibilities, focus and execution, optimal energy, robust communication, mental toughness. Obviously, some of the topics are very relevant, especially in crisis times, but some of them, I think we were struggling a little bit with roles and responsibilities, which is, of course, an important thing. How do you shift the roles and responsibilities? But we kind of felt it doesn't deserve a chapter on its own.
But
Then the
maybe there's a chapter, but it was very difficult to say, okay, then this I write in this chapter, but I refer to it. And then we were losing the flow on the brand, for example, to tell the story without having to go into pieces, right? And I think we said, no, let's just write how you write a resilient brand. And if it touches roles and responsibilities, and if it touches that, that's fine. Just make it flow, right? And then you took over rewriting the brand part, which I got very pissed off about it. You
talk to
can
us
tell the
about
story. No, you can tell about it if you wanna. I can compliment in this one, So
No, but sure. Like, look, we like the first book, the process we designed with Cristobal, we kind of been following with the first book, and then we do this book as well. Is we split the chapters. Okay, so the first book had 7 chapters. So Cristobal took the the introduction, the closing remarks, and the three chapters, and I took four chapters. Okay, so and then we give each other feedback. This time, Cristobal took the first chapter initially, and it was a chapter about culture and purpose and values. And he's written a pretty pretty good chapter, I would say, pretty solid chapter. But I kept telling him I needed to be more related to a crisis, and it needs to be a little bit different kind of frame. So and he kept on saying, no, it's really good. I sent it to some people, they read it. It's good already. But for me, it was off, and it wasn't off because it wasn't a good chapter, but it wasn't really framed and structured in a perspective of a crisis. So um, I was super busy Q4 last year when you were writing these chapters, and I was behind because I think I had 72 days on the road out of 90, super busy. Then I came back, and then January and February I was very flexible. I had a lot of time that I put into book writing, and I just told Cristobal, let me give it a try. I have an idea what I want to create. Let me give it a try. Then I'll just rewrite some of your parts. Then I started rewriting, and it didn't really work because I mean it's a completely different angle he's taking. So I think there's still some example stories and other things that I took from what you wrote, but I felt it needs a new structure. And I'm actually super happy to see now because you don't know. That's the thing. You don't know how people will resonate because in your mind it makes sense, but also you know it all. So it's like maybe it's too simple. Maybe everybody knows that. But then you send the chapter and we received a few feedback kind of points from the Eustace from Vinted was talking a lot about the first chapter. I'm like, okay, interesting. People actually resonate with focusing on the first chapter. Now it's about building a resilient culture. What are the components that we sometimes overlook? And of course, we included some stories, some examples. But yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a journey. It was a chapter that our editor Jessica already approved. When I went, I took it and I said, no, we have to write the new one. And Cristobal said, I'm not writing a new one because I'm super busy now. So, and then I took it and I was like, just, you know, give me some time. Give me some time. And then,
Yeah, no, no. And then I didn't like it, by the way. So when Stoyan with the first draft, is like, really don't like it, right? But again, that was kind of the angry brother, right? I said, you did it over me. So I remember I gave it to three people. I said, hey, just read it. I didn't say anything. I just read it. And then I said, and they like it. I don't know. It was not a comparison exercise. It was they read it, it was good. And I said, okay, good. That's take it to the end, right? And I think, but again, it goes into this process of complementarity, and also in a way, you need to respect that writing is not a linear moment, right? And it's about, you said it before, it's about having the time to do it, but sometimes being the flow, right? And sometimes if you have a vision, the framework might limit you, right? And if you try to improve what other has done, it becomes being a Frankenstein, because it doesn't have a flow, right? So at some point you cannot say, I'm going to try to create my, and we have never gone into, oh, let's just read both and compare them and then see which one is better. Is, if you felt the passion, and you had the vision to write something different, at the end of the day, again, this is about enjoying the journey. At the end of the day, of course, being satisfied by the end result, but it's about enjoying the journey, right? So, but I think, again, it's like all founders, right? At the end of the day, sometimes you have discussions. I think you just need to be smart not to escalate into arguments, and sometimes you have to give the accountability and ownership to others, and as long as they get both, the accountability but also the ownership to do it, I think it's fine, right? And I think ends as being a better product that flows at the end of the day, right?
yeah, it's also understanding the other person. By the way, come closer to the camera. I know this is not in your department, but I want to have some nice videos afterwards for the framing. So hey, everybody, check this out. So that's too close, but anyway,
I
feel
don't
good.
see the logo.
Good. So I think I think the other thing is to understand the other person, and you're much faster to create a first draft. For example, you're much faster than me, and I don't know how you do it, but my way of getting into my creative flow, it's really hard for me to say I have 2 hours in the plane, let me write. It's hard, like I've done it. I've been writing from airplanes, from trains, from buses. Maybe I've been writing in more than 15 countries, just like you did for this book. But for me, what I had to do to make myself creative and available, I had to create these blocks of time. So basically, okay, let me set 2 weeks in which 80-90% of what I do is going to be book. So what I do is I go to bed early. I wake up in the morning the next day. I have my coffee, uh, and then I don't feel like writing the first half an hour, but I push myself, and I'm like, okay, write about this, and then I start writing, and it's sometimes nothing comes out. Sometimes I write 1 page. Sometimes I write 5 pages, depending on where you are, right? Because sometimes you have the idea, you just have to structure it. Sometimes you don't have the idea, and it's like you kind of structure the whole chapter, what you want to have in there, but you don't really know what you want to write. And I like to do a lot of research myself, kind of reading the good other books, listening to podcasts on the topic, listening to interviews on the topic, doing interviews with exceptional people and trying to get some learnings and ideas from them. For example, the concept in the second chapter of the business continuity plan, right? I haven't heard this before, right? Like before, I know that you have to do it, right? But I haven't heard that that's the term. But then I started talking to people, and it's something that's quite, many people know it. Many people actually do it. We had the specific example from Ukraine of somebody that shared with us. How do you pronounce it? The
Nazar.
Nazar.
Yep. Yeah,
Nazar
from
from
those crew.
Boats Crew, who, I mean, look at that example. I think it's in the second chapter about effective planning and effective response. I mean, talk about mental toughness, man. Like, okay, we are struggling our ways, but like these guys literally, I think it was February 2022, and they kind of felt, okay, Russians are on the border. Anything can happen every day. We have like what 50, 60 people in the team. What do we do? And they're spread across different cities. We need to create a plan, crisis management plan, but we need a business continuity plan as well. So what is the plan? What if then, right? If this happens, what are the must do things, items, evacuation, right? We need to make sure everybody's safe. But then after everybody gets to safety the first days and weeks, how do we make sure that we keep operating the business while we are solving the crisis, right? Like, so you kind of see all these concepts in action.
Yeah, and you were also, I think we also wrote in the Ivan from FinMap, also going through their own journey at that time, and even further because Ivan has taken afterwards joined the armed forces. How they have gone through that, how they have continued running FinMap and now transition out. So he's out of FinMap, but he's running a new startup. Himself is related to defense tech at the same time, right? So I think again there is this parable in the Bible about when you're complaining about you're eating this type of food, and then you realize somebody behind you is eating what you're throwing out of what you're not eating, right? And there's always somebody else who would take your crisis and make it very small compared with what they're going through, right? And I think is this capacity to also sometimes be abstract, right? Um, yeah, but the process of writing, something was actually interesting this time because suddenly started having to fly Malaga Copenhagen. It's a 4 hour flight, right? Because I used to fly before Riga Copenhagen for family reasons, and now I have to fly. That was 1 hour, 1 and a half. You don't have time to really do anything 1 hour. Maybe you can, listen to some music or read a bit of a book, but you cannot really work right in a laptop. When you have 4 hours, suddenly you have way more time to really focus, right? And now this time I have 4 hours flights every second week, 2 of them, right? So suddenly I have a new place to write that was not there before, right? And in 4 hours I can draft a chapter even without access to internet, right? Um, so in fact, funny part with that's I think on the in one of the in the robust communication, I have some certain clear ideas, and then I use ask ChatGPT for some and gave me the first, let's say, draft, and then you kind of. So I think that was you realize the power of ChatGPT on being faster creating the first draft, even if you modify it afterwards dramatically. But for example, in the laying off people, that was basically in a plane. We said, hey, I think people is asking about this type of chapter. I think it deserves its own chapter. Um, and I just went into a 4 hour plane and wrote the first chapter. That chapter just in one go, right? And
By the way, by the way,
then you improve it.
this is the Guinness World Record for fastest chapter. I'm having a call with Cristobal. I've showed him the updated chapter on culture. I think he initially was kind of a little bit resistant. He's like, okay, it's good, but it's very different. Let's see what other people think. But then it's like, you know, he was, I don't know, you were just like, how about we include a new chapter on layoffs, and this is a very sensitive topic. Nobody talks about it, but many startups are going to the place that they have no option, right? The whole book is about putting people first, taking care of your people, making sure everybody's safe. But the brutal reality is that's not always possible. For you to be able to survive, there is a moment that you might have to do the tough call. But how do you do it well? How do you do it so everybody's still taken care of? And I'm like, wasn't it you, Cristobal, that wanted us to finish this book like yesterday? He's like, I'm gonna write the chapter today. I'm like, yeah, of course you will. Good luck, right? And then it was 6 p.m. or something, and then 9:30 or 10 p.m. He's like, here's the draft, and I read the draft, and it wasn't final, but it was like, this is pretty good. This is pretty good. I'm like, this guy has gone through this before. He knows that that's not something he read, you know.
No, no, I think it was interesting because even we called my father right in this chapter, right? Because again, this is something that my father told me 2 decades ago. In a way, this is the only one. This he told me two things. This is the one thing that you always hate about your job, and this is the one thing that experience doesn't help. Not hating it, right? You might be better at going through it, but you still dislike it, right? It was funny because it was just funny, interesting. I was yesterday with very a good friend of mine, also in early 50s. She's a very experienced executive, and he told me, "Man, writing about this was painful." She told me, but you go through it many times, right? He said, like, doesn't matter. Every time, and you write about it, and you're thinking about the first person you fire or the next person you need to fire, right? Um, and I think this was a quote from Judas. He said, "This is the one thing that people don't want to talk about, but the one thing that is going to be part of your job as a CEO in a startup. There is no way you're going to be a CEO in a successful startup and you're not going to have to fire someone. Hopefully, you don't need to do mass layoffs, but you own to have to let some people go, no matter what, because performance reasons, because reorganization, because skills needed a change. If you start growing dramatically, the people who was very good afterwards is not that good because the skills are not there. So you're going to, even on a very successful scale, you have to go through it, right? And we talk about also a lot about the process of offboarding, right? And a lot of people, I remember in a long time in Wise Web, say, oh, we have a very bad onboarding process. And, we work on making that better. But, I was talking a lot to Patrick Collins. I said, man, offboarding is more important than onboarding, right? Because the onboarding people are still there with you. You can still do, but the offboarding people, they left. So if you do it wrong, that people is hurt forever. And that people is hurt about you, about the company. If you do it well, in that very painful moment, you will maintain that connection, right? Even it might take some time to go through it because again, you have a few, but and even that people might still be an ambassador of you because you actually let them go in a human way, in a professional way, and maybe that turn around to be the best decision for them because then they do something that they really like much better. They're more prepared, right? So we talk about the offboarding process and how do you your job doesn't finish when you give the news. I think if you're really somebody that is developing a strong culture, your process finishes when that people find the next job and they go on with their lives, and then you feel okay. Now I can focus back into my people, right? That is in the company, and then also you go back to the process about how the people inside the company that stays feels, and how can you help them to feel that guys, was the necessary step to make us stronger and to make sure that the ones who stay can enjoy the journey ahead, right? And I think it's very important to talk about it. And again, even if it's, I hate it. Nobody can like this part of the job, right? It's just like I hate it. But and I think I'm terrible at it because I think I'm over paternalistic and that shit. Um,
In what
um,
way? In
but
what way?
again, you need to go through it. I think I'm better on my 50s than I was on my 40s on this process. Uh, so hopefully I will be better at my 60s because I'm sure I will have to do it again. But again, it is how it's part of making companies better, but it's doing it well what makes the difference for your company and for the people living and for their lives, and for you to feel that I executed this in the human way,
Mm.
in the proper way that when a company claims to be human, to be transparent, etc. These are the times that you prove that, right? Uh, and we've been a lot of discussion about is there a point of too much transparency on these moments, right? And I think it's been even an internal discussion with some of my leaders and with some of the leaders in the startups about what is the level of transparency. We talk about transparency, vulnerability in communication, and I think a lot of leaders have had to experience that. Hopefully, they have their own views and they will be sharing them through the next months when they read about what we talk in the book, and they come up with their own stories about, hey, you said that, it resonated to me. This is what I did. This is what I learned. So we love to be bringing more stories, not just the ones that we have in the book around these topics, right? And we talk a lot about communication in the book, right?
And one of the things I'm really happy about, passionate about, is the community that we've been building, which was super organic. The perform community of people helping each other. This is kind of the mindset. Like, can we come together? We don't have all the answers. We don't know. We have our perspective. We have our experience, but everybody from the community can contribute with these kind of ideas, insights, and stories, examples, and we can share and help each other. And talking about that, by the way, I just want to feature a few more comments here. Mike is writing us, surviving a surviving crisis and writing a book, a transformative experience is like stepping into a gateway to a new life. How does it feel like for El Patron and Stoyan to be freshly reborn in the unicorn's land? You want to take us as a question, Cristobal, or comment?
I think we talk about it, right? I think you feel re-energized, and I think we felt that I really feel that I want that we put the topic out there so we can get more stories about it, and that we can make this resonate, and as you said, that the community can openly support each other on these topics, right? And hopefully, they understand that talking about these things and talking what transparency means for someone and what means for somebody else, what vulnerability means for someone and for somebody else, and how vulnerability is through different cultures, genders, ages, because it comes in different shapes and ways, right? And some cultures that you cannot display vulnerability as a leader, right? And I think there was a lot about male, female on this, right? Also about this, a lot of gender bias. Oh, males cannot do this, or females cannot do that. And to me, that makes no sense, right? So I think putting this conversation out there, I think it feels good. I think it feels good. But clearly today, I think it's a level of accomplishment and pride. And I think we also wanted to be number one bestseller. So that we accomplished. And I think now we want to really hit the feedback people saying again, hey, we like the book, it's helping, and this is more. And hopefully we get a couple of comments that says, hey, why don't you write about this also? And then we get the inspiration for the next one. But I really need to write my cooking book before I write another book with Stoyan. So And that's an important part there.
Perform in the kitchen, yes.
Yes, that's
No.
coming.
But thanks for sharing that. And by the way, we have become bestseller in a few markets already. But I think, let me just see. I think in Amazon we are still Amazon.com. We are still not there. I think we've reached in some different countries like Spain and Germany. But if you ever got any value from me and Cristobal in any way, shape, or form, now is the time to get yourself a copy. By the way, a super offer. You can get the Kindle for $2.99, which is the cheapest we can select from Kindle Direct Publishing. $2.99 for the Kindle. I think it's $14.99 US dollars for the paperback, and 19.99, $20 for the hardcover. Not only that, but Nicoletta, I don't know if you're listening, but if you do, please post in the comments the special giveaways. I'll do it otherwise after the session, which is everybody who buys a copy, every single person who buys a copy today or tomorrow, first of all, we'll be invited to an exclusive mastermind call at the end of the month. We'll probably invite a special guest, so we'll make it worth it for you just by this. But also, we'll be drawing a bunch of different prizes. I need to find where is the list of prizes. Cristobal is the one that suggested one of the prizes. Maybe you want to talk about it, Cristobal. That's your happening. So,
But our Romanian supplier created the last time a special gift for me and Stoyan that was perform underwear. And then, not that we are wearing it to show to people all the time, but when we're just kind of displaying it, let's put it this way,
I
a lot of
just
people said, yeah, yeah. See, you see, that's
Erasmus,
exists. Okay.
that's you, brother.
Yeah. He say, hey, we want some. So I said, performing days of crisis underwear can be better, right? So, and of course, the people said, no, boxers, what if I want sleeves? What if about long one? Anyway, so we said, hey, we need to create the new line again with the second edition. So we will actually give away a couple of boxers, perform boxers as part of the prices. We
Unisex.
have every type unisex, every type of size. Don't feel you have to be exposed. Boxes or sleeves. Our provider can do anything we want on this one. So
Osman is,
but
is
it
the
will
man.
be, the new logo. The new logo. So it's actually
Our
take to the
Romanian
next
provider.
level.
Yes. So basically, you're gonna see it in the chat, but very simple. You get your copy, Kindle, paperback, hardcover, doesn't matter, whatever format you prefer. There is a link where you can just go, you put your name, your email, and you upload your receipt. And then you will be invited, first of all, to the mastermind call. But then there's a bunch of different prizes here. Everybody's fighting for the big prize, of course, the Perform Underwear, Crisis Edition, Limited Edition. But then again, we also have, we're going to give away some coaching sessions, one-on-one coaching sessions. We will give away 10 signed copies of the first book, and then at least 100 PDF copies of the first book as well. So make sure to go get the book now on the Kindle, on hardcover. The link is in the chat, I guess, in the comments. And I just want to also remind everybody there's a bit of time for questions. If you have any questions or anything else or comments, would love to feature them. Yeva wrote us here, relate to Stoyan so much. I also need a space, a wider time block, week to get into the flow. It takes time to research, chat, reflect, think, and put things together. Absolutely. Another friend, Rodolfo. Hey, man, hope you're doing great. We come to see career transitions not as catastrophes, but as natural stepping stones in the professional world. Our hard-earned wisdom transforms the once daunting task of letting somebody go into a more manageable, albeit still challenging responsibility. So yes, in our 60s, it will be easier. Wow, so poetic, Rodolfo. Thank you for joining us.
That means there's a number of us in our 50s already, reflecting about what will happen. But we want to be here in our 60s, still performing, still challenging our status quo, our curiosity to create. By the way, as you are not only buy the book, by this summer, so you have more time by the pool, so please, when you read it, also write reviews, both to
Yes,
us in Amazon. It's very important to have those reviews. So if you like it, please tell us. And if it is this, you said, hey, this for me was weak. This I will actually write to us, because again, it's Amazon. So if there is certain areas we can improve, Maybe in this next edition, in the second release, we can improve. Maybe we can add some new story. So you have an amazing story that you think will be so resonating in this area, share with us. So it's all about reviews. It's all about sharing your stories with us. So not just stop by buying the book. We really want you to read it, to give us what you think about it, and hopefully how did it impact something that you are going through.
And yeah, the topics we are covering, just for those of you who haven't really gone and checked it, we decided to build a book around these 5 topics or 5 questions we are giving an answers to. How do you build a resilient culture? How do you plan for and respond effectively when a crisis hits? How do you communicate internally and externally during and after a crisis? How do you manage layoffs and rebuild once things improve? And how do you manage your mental state and your team's emotional temperature in the toughest times? 5 chapters, lots of stories, lots of insights. We had the chance to interview amazing people. The founder of Vivino was one of them, the founder of Reebok, the founding president of Starbucks International, Howard Bihar. By the way, guys, Howard Bihar is the man. If you want to learn about servant leadership, this is the guy. This is the guy. He was super kind to write the foreword for the book, to share some of the stories, examples from his experience. Imagine entering a company with 30 shops, coffee shops, and scaling the company to 15,000 global brand, 15,000 coffee shops around the world, with a purpose to put people first, to create a culture of giving. He was the founder of the international branch of Starbucks. All right, so he was number 2 in Starbucks after Howard Schultz, but he was the guy we need to scale internationally, and he did it. And this guy has been leading with your heart, with his heart, of course, with the head, but also with the heart. So some great stories from him, but kudos and credits to all these great people. We had a lot of founders as well from the region, as we like to call it, New Europe. Many different example stories, insights, quotes, hopefully something that can make you think. So as Cristobal said, what matters most to us is what do you guys think about it? So get yourself a copy, but please send us a message on LinkedIn, on WhatsApp, whatever, and just say, hey, this is the part that really resonated with me. Thank you for sharing this example, or this chapter doesn't really work for me. Maybe you should do this and that for the next version. So it'll be fantastic, because again, we write the book, we send it to several people from our network. By the way, every chapter was read by at least several people from our network, and then our editor went through it, I don't know how many times, 2-3 times at least, giving us, you're like, oh my god, I nailed the chapter, man, it's so good. And then you send it to Jessica, and then it comes back with like a Christmas tree and all the colors and comments, and it's like I remember this notification from Google. Wow, your document changed a lot. It's like even Google is mocking me. No. So,
The
but
power
look,
of AI, the power of AI, right, in front of you.
talking about AI,
So
by the way, I haven't done any AI on this book. I tried at the beginning. Um, I think I used it for 20 minutes, and it was more like, I'm writing a chapter on planning in terms of crisis for founders. Da, 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 da. What would be the structure of the chapter? So I think I just use it for like one prompt or something, and from there on, I don't know. I didn't feel like it was. Again, you can do it. You can go ahead and maybe structure it and then work on the. But for me, it was like, I don't know. It needs to come from me. And maybe at the end, you can ask ChatGPT. I haven't done it all. Like, did you like the chapter? Which part should I improve? And then you can think of what to. But I did not use any AI in my chapters at all. Maybe I need to step up. I don't know.
this
But
makes you a grandfather. This makes you almost a dinosaur already. Like this, and then and there will be 10 years from now. This was the last book that I didn't use AI to write it. Right? Can kind of go back to this one.
but
So
once again,
who
everybody
knows? No?
everybody who's here with us right now, like, let's see how many people we're having. I'm going to join. Uh, Let us know, guys, in the comments or here, like, what can we do? What would be something that's relevant to you? By the way, once again, if you buy a copy today or tomorrow, by tomorrow, any kind of copy. And in the chat, you can find the link where to upload the receipt. We invite you to an exclusive mastermind call. We're gonna bring some special guests. We're gonna bring the community together. We'll have a chance to share, to talk to each other. We might do some Q&A. But also, again, you can be in the poll to win a special prizes, which one of them is Perform Crisis Edition underwear, specially distributed by our friend Razvan. So let me see who is there. But let us know if there's any questions and comments right now in the comments of the chat. Let me see how many people is watching. There's still a
It's
lot of
very
people.
persistent people because we said it was going to be an hour and we'll be here almost an hour and a half, and we're a bit late, and people are still with us. So that's thanks everybody for staying here.
Yeah, let us know. And by the way, if you bought the book, just drop us. I mean, many of the people who I see in the comments are people who already bought the book. So just let us know where. Like that's always fun. Like, where do you plan to read the book from? Is it the beach in Spain? Is it the U.S. in Mississippi? Like, where are you planning to? And what kind of format do you like the most when you're reading books? Is it Kindle? Is it paper? Or is it hardcover? Let us
It's
know in the
interesting.
comments.
Remember the last time I must say I prefer the printed version, right? And actually, I think we work a lot on making the Kindle version this time very friendly, and I think actually has come out really really nice, right? I think we work on the graphs because last time I think some of the graphs, some of the methodologies were super difficult to read in Kindle. So again, I think part of our second time writer in this case, right? I think the Kindle version has really become really neat, very clean. So hopefully the Kindle version also this time gets a lot of readers, right? This is I think why we decided to go for a very, very aggressive offer on Kindle because I think the version this time is fantastic, right? It's super easy to read.
So let us know, Kindle, paper, or hardcover. What is your preferred format? I'm. What is your Cristobal? Like for me, it's like it really depends. I'm more of a paperback kind of person, but sometimes when I don't have the patience, like we don't have Amazon, right? So we have to wait a few days. So Kindle is like one click, so you have to wait. So most books recently have been books that I'm reading from the guests of my podcast, and they of course I don't have time to wait for the book and everything, so I just get the Kindle and I read them. But like, what do you prefer? Again, you're a traditional guy.
First, I'm waiting for our paper copy because this time we went straight to Amazon. We will do our own printed copies in the coming months. So we're waiting for our author copies that we ordered 2 or 3 days ago. So I'm really actually dying to see it in paper this time. No, I would say I'm a paper guy in this sense. I have actually been a couple of years I was using Kindle a lot. And I think I read a lot on electronically, digitally, and presentations, etc. But for reading, I do prefer and even if I'm flying a lot and that means carrying more weight, etc. But I think in average, I have 2 books with me almost any given time, etc. So I think the paper somehow allows me to concentrate, to focus better. Even if I do like really Kindle as a quality product and how well it works. But I do like paper. So I have gone back to paper a lot, comparatively speaking. Poor trees. So we had to between that and my flying and not helping because I'm trying to read 2 to 3 books per month at least still. But yeah. So and I sent a note to Stoyan this morning. Hey, when are the books coming? Because my sister is coming on Friday from my parents' house, and I want to see if the books are there so I can actually touch it. So I'm really, really eager to touch our book, and see how it feels, right? So I was reading it on Kindle on the weekend one more time, but I'm really dying to get my paper copy.
That was my favorite so far. Like we had Americans are starting to receive them because it's Amazon
Yeah.
Prime, like a same day. We had this picture with the performing times of crisis, and the question was, is the cat in the crisis? It's really cool though. Look at the face. It's performing. Anyway.
Yeah, the fellas in the US were already 2 days ago saying they had the book, and the UK guys were getting it today. So yeah, the paper copies have started arriving, right? So I have to say it's amazing how Amazon self-publishing works, right? So I think it is a fascinating way how the whole thing works because we start uploading the book, and Amazon is always say will take 72 hours, and I think one of the versions was uploaded in 1 hour, right? So it's like, well, we were planning 3 days. Why is it already ready? So yeah, it's an amazing process, right? But yeah, paper copies are being shipped and arriving at your houses, and for you and your cats and dogs. So in startup we said you have a 50% cats, 50% dogs lovers. So so you can also send a picture with you and your dog. You really
Yes,
like it on
that's
the
fine.
book.
We
You can
don't
also
discriminate.
perform. You
Mm.
can perform with your dog. That's not a problem at all.
Timmy is saying paper copy, Tapa Blanda just ordered. Check. Timmy, where are you gonna read this copy? We expect some pictures.
In Malaga, by the pool.
That's
See,
your guess. That's your guess. Let's see. Let's see.
yes, yes. Or maybe
Eva.
Lake Ohrid, in
Eva
North
is saying,
Macedonia.
sharing love paper format. We read your book in garden, park, beach, and before sleep. It's always interesting, Do you want to read about crisis management before sleep? Maybe, maybe.
But
It's good.
Jeva is part of your club. She likes the 10 p.m. max, going to sleep very and getting up super early. So she's part of your club. These early risers, early going to bed. So
No, but I just love this message, man. In garden,
yeah,
park, beach, and before sleep. Yeah, that's
nature, very very fresh air, nature.
let's see, Gary. I prefer a paper copy, but it's definitely easier with the Kindle. She's a Gen Z. He's a Gen Z. He's a proper Gen Z, by the way.
By the way, Stoyan, I got already people asking what about the audio version. Let's
Yes, that's right. That's right.
yeah,
We have
yeah,
recorded. This is one
yeah.
of the crisis management things, right? We have recorded an audio version like 2 years ago of the first book, and it's never been published. Maybe it's time we publish it this summer, huh? So
No comment. Like
no
when we
comment.
say, "Hey, what about the audio version?" They're like, "You will be amazed that we recorded the full audio version of the
In a great
first
studio,
book
by the way. In a great
in a
studio,
good."
professional editing, and we added some extra extra examples, and so but it's good. It's like Rolling Stones, right? The unpublished album.
Exactly, exactly. So we can load it in the future. So yeah, I have my doubts if we're going to do an audio. And by the way, for those saying that you guys with your accents, actually we recorded ourselves because the
Yes.
first one was me talking and asking the studio guy, "Do you understand anything about this guy is saying?" Right? And he said, "No, no, it's loud and clear." So I said, "Yeah." So basically, same thing. I loaded I recorded everything in 24 hours. I got into the studio. Stoyan gave me some water, and I said, "Let's go, let's go, let's go." And I think one time was like 2 hours non-stop, just talking in front of the. But it was actually again an interesting experience to do the audio part
I
and
had trolled eggs.
speaking.
I had trolled eggs, and I
Yeah,
came with this like jar with honey, and Cristobal was laughing at me. But it's actually impressive. We're gonna maybe put some little clip or something. Uh, Cristobal is speaking slowly, and it's
yeah,
super clear and understandable. So you guys stay tuned for that one for sure. So Gergana is saying she's back. Gary's back and saying also when it's Kindle, your dog won't be able to enjoy it. Eat it. She has a
exactly.
big dog. She
See,
has a big dog.
so
Okay, Julia, Kindle copy by the beach. Maybe next to a spritz. Okay, okay. See,
it's
creativity. That's
improving.
good. Improving.
Performance improving now with beats, Aperol, so
The
it's clearly improving.
underwear line.
This is all,
But to think about the underwear, Rasvan was just having fun and just for your birthday or my birthday, I don't know. One of us had a birthday, and he sent us this underwear branded with Perform, and it arrived in the office. And I'm like, hey, look at guys, look at this. Everybody's like, can I order one? I was like, what? Everybody wants to order the Perform underwear, man. So I'm
hmm
like, maybe we should, not write books. We should, we should open a line. So
yeah, it's more margin. There's way more margin in that business. So
if El Patron does audio, it will be fun. I always double ask, what does he mean? Well, I think the worst is when you record me a message with your headphones from an airport. It's your favorite. you know
yeah, and but I put everyone in 2x when they send me the audios, and I still think it's too slow. Most of you, so don't worry. It goes both ways, right? So I'm trying to inspire WhatsApp to do a 3x, so I can listen to more audios faster. But it doesn't really work.
Povilas is paperback guy. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Between
Did he
Alitus
read
and
any chapters?
Alicante,
Did he read any chapters?
I
Did you
don't
send
think
him
so.
anything?
I
Because
don't
I
think
know
so.
that you send people a lot of stuff usually.
But he's
So, I mean, one thing I want to ask everybody, maybe post it in the comments. We're gonna close this live soon, but I just want to ask everybody, what do you guys think? Should we maybe make a some sort of a group? We have like a closed WhatsApp group, but maybe like a more of a Facebook group or a place where people can share resources on the topic. Let us know. Would you be any kind of community? We can use some of this new school or whatever.
and we had one
Discord.
in LinkedIn, but it's true that it never worked. We don't even read it
That's the thing. What
ourselves.
do you do? I mean,
So, but you need to have this ongoing activity that people feels, and there is also a balance between, oh, there's too many noise. I have people in our own WhatsApp groups that it's too much noise, and how can I help? But I don't want to be there. So again, this is a people choice, right? People
with
behave
Facebook.
differently, but it's true that you have a community. It needs to be alive ongoingly, right? And it's a fine balance between WhatsApp or LinkedIn or some new tools. So yeah, don't use Slack if you want me to be part of the community, because I don't use Slack. But again, people love Slack, right? So it's a balance, but it's true that in this topic it would be great to have something alive and people commenting, sharing resources, etc. Right? We need to find a proper way to do it. Hopefully.
So please, guys, let us know. Send us a DM. Put it on the comments. What do we do to make a community that's kind of a giving first kind of community where people can share, support each other? Would that be a Facebook group? Would that be Discord? Would that be some of these cool community kind of platforms? What would be some good place to bring people together? And maybe just to start wrapping up, because it's getting late, I guess, for people. You guys have to do some stuff. Some of you have to handle crisis, but maybe just to wrap things up, I just want to remind everybody, like, the way you can support us is, if you can get yourself a copy of the book today or tomorrow, that's gonna mean the world, because we are aiming for bestseller status on Amazon.com. So if we can get many people to get the book at the same time, then we get a chance to make it to number one bestseller on Amazon on the different categories. We've already reached it in a few categories in different countries, but we are aiming for Amazon.com. $2.99 for the Kindle version, and there's a bunch of different prizes, gifts that we will give away for everybody who bought a copy today or tomorrow. So please go check it out. And of course, if you like anything about the book, make a post on LinkedIn, post it there. If you like anything, share with a friend. DM us on LinkedIn. Let us know which is the part that resonated with you. Cristobal, just with a few words, who is this book for in your perspective? Obviously, not every book is for everybody, but who do you think will gain from getting a copy from the book?
Well, I think founders or even leaders of new projects, of innovation projects. So everybody that is going to be working in uncertain, let's say, outputs projects, being startups, being innovation, at the beginning of those projects to be prepared while they're going through a crisis to get some references, or after going through them to do their own reflections through reading. I think are the people who will benefit, which almost is 50% of the people who works, right? At some point in life. And I think everybody who is also people who is thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, but previously, but from book is also about, hey, you need to be ready for these things, right? So it's a good way to say, how do you build your muscles to be prepared for what is coming, right? But I think if you're going through a crisis, read it. If you have gone through one, read it, because I think it might allow you to put your steps about what happened, how could I do differently the next time. And if you're thinking about launching a startup or be leading an innovation project, read it, because you're going to go through this at some point in that journey. And this might make you prepare, but also might make you know people that it might be for you a reference who to go to in the future or who to be inspired for in the future, right?
Definitely. And I just want to finish with, there's many stories and examples in the book. What is kind of the first, kind of the one that comes to mind that for you was very, that really resonated with you, was something that made you think when we included the example? What is like a story or example that was for you, you know, meaningful, resonated with you?
Yeah, I would say, I mentioned the quote from my father, but I would say reading how Brian Chesky from Airbnb went through the layoffs rounds, his communication at that point was, I think, good. The discussion with Patrick Collins about offboarding people was also very good. I like it. I like it a lot. And I think also reading from Bene Brown, who is a best-selling author and a professor in UT Austin, about vulnerability at the leadership point of view, I think was also very, very interesting, reflecting points through in the journey, I think.
A couple that come to mind, and there's many stories and examples that resonated with me. Um, First one was Rita McGrath, and it wasn't so much the story, but it was more like the way he put it. She said, in a crisis, you need to dampen the emotional temperature of the team, which
Mm,
for me was something that really resonated, because in a crisis, everybody freaks out. There was some statistics we included in the book that 80 to 90% of people act inappropriately in a crisis. I included even an example from 2017 in Detroit, where a passenger's airplane is landing in Detroit, and one of the engines is caught fire. And the stewardess is starting, everybody, no panic, everybody just leave your baggage, get out of the plane slowly, let's just evacuate. And what happens is people start freaking out, people start running for their luggage. It's a mess. Some people start taking their phones and start making videos, selfie videos with they're gonna die. They're making a selfie video with the burning engine. Like, people act inappropriately in a crisis. Most people, right? If you are in a position of being a manager, being a leader, it is your responsibility to show up as a leader and to remain calm and to do your best to, first of all, resolve the biggest fires, and then to cool down everybody else, right? And we have maybe several people saying the same kind of reflection. When an emergency happens, if you're struggling to cool down your team's temperature, emotional temperature, maybe you want to give them one simple thing to do. Hey, Maria, I just need you to take this and move it to here in the next 1 hour. That's how you help us. Is that okay? Right? You give them one specific thing to do that keeps them focused, keep them occupied, and calms them down. Which was, by the way, something that you mentioned Ivan Kaunov a couple of times. One of the big motivations to write a book is messages like this. I don't know if I showed you this one before, but Cristobal and I, we spend a lot of time coaching startups, coaching different founders, and Ivan is the founder of FinMap. So I haven't been in touch with him for more than a year. The last message was from April 2021. Then I received a message in June 2022. And this is the picture. And I received this message, like a picture, and the message says, "Hi Stoyan, thank you for this book. Help me to be in balance even on the battlefield." And I had a really bad day when I received this in my mind. And I received this message, and I'm like, who the who the f? I'm not gonna say the word. Who the f are you to be like beating yourself up? It's like, this guy had to just they get just got right raise funding. I think it was 1.2 or 1.5 million. Gotta check it in the book. Everything is running well. Finally, they made it. What happens? Russia invades Ukraine. All of a sudden, everything changes. All of a sudden, he needs to go to the front. He's a founder, but he needs to learn how to fight in a real war. And then he has to run, help the team to survive and the startup to survive, take care of everybody else, right? And you receive this message and you don't even know what to say. But it's like maybe it's meaningful what we do, right? Maybe we need to keep going. So it wasn't in the book, but this type of messages is what keeps you going when we're having difficult times, because as Cristobal said, the last couple of years we're not walking the park, not just with the book creation, but we had to have our own leadership and test it many times over with everything happening around. So yeah, I mean, what can I say? Super grateful for the community, super grateful for the hundreds of people that supported us, the people who contributed with learnings, with stories. I cannot name them individually because there are so many. The people who read the chapters, our teams that was supporting us, proofreading, the editor, the designer, Simona. I mean, it's more than 100 people for sure. Hundreds of people who help us to make this book happen. No, Eva is just sharing. Yeah, I mean, what do you say? What do you say? And you're thinking, oh, I have a bad day. My Wi-Fi is bad, and I have a podcast. Ooh, like who cares, man? There's much bigger, things to.
Yeah, I think if you want to finish on that note with Ivan, I think the few times we have been able that he's been on off duty, and when you meet him, he has never lost a smile, right? And I think it's inspiring that, as you said, I think we get people to focus so we can focus ourselves and regain ourselves and cool down ourselves before we can lead others, right? So and I think we need to take time all the time to breathe and to recover our smile and to come back to lead and inspire, right? And I think we should never lose the smile and for too long, right? No matter what's happening, our job is to get out of there, right, and take us to a better place and inspire others to follow us or to go to their own places, right? So I think if this helps one person, 10 person, 100 person, 1,000 people, that's amazing, right? And if it helps just us, well, at least we did it. So it's part of you cannot help others if you're not helping yourself, right? And you cannot smile to others if you're not smiling at least inside yourself, right? And I think we need to carry that power of positivity with us, even in the most difficult and crisis times. I think positivity is something we can never lose, right? I think we're, despite everything thrown to us, we're very lucky by all means. So never lose that no matter what's happening, we're very lucky. So we have a lot of people around us. We have amazing food. We have amazing colleagues. We have amazing life stories to share and to build new ones. So don't be a victim and let's build something meaningful and be thankful about everything we have, right?
I think it's a great way to wrap up this conversation, this 60-minute, 90-minute conversation. Uh, to
60 minutes, 90 minutes. It's like the book. It's going to take 1 year, but after 2 years, it's good that it didn't take 2.5 years. So
so once again, thanks everybody for joining us. You know where to find the book. It's on Amazon in all the different marketplaces on Amazon. It's on Kindle, paperback, hardcover. If you buy a copy today or tomorrow, you can find the link and you can upload your receipt, your name, your email, and we will make sure to invite you, first of all, to a exclusive mastermind call, but secondly, you'll be in the draw for many prizes that we prepared for you. So thanks once again for joining us, and let us know, give us feedback, post comments. If you post on LinkedIn with something that's you liked about the book, we'll give you a virtual hack, of course. And yeah, let's keep performing. I mean, even in the crisis times, in the most difficult times, try to find yourself, to find your strength, to remain calm, and to see the situation from a different perspective. Because it's not about what happens. Of course, bad things happens, and they happen often. but it's about how can you regain this strength within yourself, this confidence, get into a calm place so you can respond in the most effective and productive manner. So with that being said, and thanks once again, everybody, Julia, Luis, Gary, Eva, Pavilas, everybody who joined us today. Uh, Thank you so much. And yeah, let's keep performing, right, Cristobal?
Thank
And
you. Let's keep performing.
ciao. You have a code.